Okay, well, good afternoon. Welcome to Mid-Kent College, and thanks very much for signing up for our live webinar this afternoon. My name's Steve, and I'm going to be your host for the next 30 minutes or so, and I'm joined by Richard from our Access Adult and Professional Courses team, who's going to be taking you through some more information about that subject area, because after all, you know, you're not here to listen to me this afternoon, you want to know about those programs. So I'll hand over to Richard in a second. Now, visitors to our normal open days tell us that they really like the opportunity to have a look around the college and to speak to our tutors. Obviously, looking around the college at the moment isn't really possible, although we have got some brilliant 360-degree photos on our website. So if you want to feel for some of our classrooms and workshop facilities, that's there for you. So although I can't walk you through the campus today, I can give you access directly to our teaching team through these webinars. So I hope that you'll find this next session really helpful. Just a little bit of housekeeping to start. To the right of the screen, you should see a chat panel. So if you've got any questions as we go through, please pop them in the chat, and we've got Sue and Hayley both on the call today who are going to look after the chat window for us. So if you've got questions, do ask them there. Sue and Hayley will answer those for you, or if there's anything where I need to ask Richard that question, then I'll put that to Richard a little bit later on in the session. And if we don't get a chance to answer your question while we're live, please don't worry, because we can pick that up with you. We'll use the email address that you registered with just to make sure you've got all the information you need afterwards. Also, on the right hand of the screen, you should see at the top a little tab that says polls. So if you wouldn't mind clicking on that for me, please. I'm just trying to get a feel for who we've got on the webinar today. So just really like to know if you've already applied for one of our programs, or whether you're just looking at the moment and trying to find some more information. That's brilliant. I can see those going in, so thank you very much. So Richard, just so you're aware, we've got a combination actually on the call this afternoon. We've got people who've already applied and people that are here to get a bit more information. So we'll make sure that we've got that balance in what we talk about as we go through. So what I'd like to do, just to kick us off, is to show you a short video that's been recorded by our principal, Simon Cook, just to give you a bit of a welcome to this afternoon. So I'll just play that for you now.
Hello there, I'm Simon. Hello there, I'm Simon, and I'm the principal of Mid-Kent College. It's great to be able to talk to you, and I so wish I would be able to talk to you in person, but virtually, hopefully your opportunity to get to know a little bit more about the college will help you with your decisions that you need to make. So over the next 30 minutes in this virtual open event, you're going to have an opportunity to meet one of the tutors from your chosen subject area. Really make the most of that time to find out what it means for you. Ask some questions. No question is a silly question. Please ask whatever question you've got. Take some notes, but make sure that you've got the info that you really need to make that decision about what you want to do in September. And if you're really not sure what you want to do, then you're not the only person. There are lots of people every year that we see. It won't be any different the current year under these current circumstances, who really don't know what they want to do. There might be even some of you who are thinking you really don't know what to do because you see what's going on in the world and you're not quite sure what job prospects there may be. By the time you finish your programme, the world will be a different place again, and there will be many more opportunities then that may not exist now. So talk to our staff about it. And also don't be frightened if you don't know what you want to do. Have a look at some of our other sessions. Come into other sessions and see. What's really important, and one thing I say to everybody who comes into the college, you must feel comfortable with the people that you're going to be sharing your next few months and years with. And I want you to feel comfortable that you're going to be able to flourish and thrive as a person. Not just study a qualification, but flourish and thrive as a person with those people you talk to. So if you don't get any of the answers that you think you need in the virtual session, we've got a brilliant team on our course inquiries, and we've got a brilliant team in our careers office who will help you navigate the language, what options there are, and for you, what's the right thing to do, which is a question we often get asked every year. I hope you enjoy your session, and I really, really hope that I get to see you very, very soon at the college, and we look forward to welcoming you with us in September, if not in person, virtually, that's for sure. Good luck.
Okay, well, thanks very much to Simon for recording that introduction for us. So, Richard, I'm just going to launch your slides now, and I will switch your microphone on and hand over to you.
Hi everyone, my name's Richard. I'm from the Department of Adult Curriculum, and so I'll just talk you through some of our offer, and then hopefully you can just ask some questions. So we have approximately 400 students studying at any one time on courses in healthcare, business and accounting, literacy and numeracy, otherwise known as English and maths, human resources, education and social science. And I'll go into a bit more detail about each of those in 1 second. We're also split across 2 sites. So our Medway programs are access to nursing and healthcare, access to social science and humanities, a certificate in healthcare, which is a level 2 program. I'll explain a little bit more about the levels in a moment. English and maths level 1 and level 2, including GCSE, AAT accounting in level 2 and level 3. Then at Maidstone, we have access to nursing and healthcare. Access to business for the first time this year is likely to happen. CIPD human resources level 5, level 3. AAT accounting level 2, level 3 and level 4. If you want to become a teaching assistant in schools, then we have a program for that, a level 2 and level 3. We have a DET, Diploma in Education and Training, level 5, TACRA and IQA assessor qualifications, and ILM Institute for Learning and Management, level 3 and level 5. Just to explain a little bit about levels, level 1 qualifications are for people who are coming in with no existing qualifications at all. Level 2 is things like GCSE. Level 3 is A levels. We don't do A levels, but we do equivalents. So that would be kind of access, which is a diploma certificate for adults who want to go on to university. And then it goes on to level 4 and level 5 after that. Okay. So just thinking about healthcare, there are 410 healthcare enterprises in Medway. Over 1,000 nursing jobs are advertised at any one time. There's massive opportunities in healthcare in Medway. We feel like we have to serve that. We've got 60 students this year with limited prior qualifications who are going to university this year to study healthcare, having completed our access program. 48 are going to Canterbury Christchurch University as part of our 1+3 partnership with them. So that's a program, Access is a program for people who are interested in working in healthcare, nursing, midwifery, physiotherapy, those kinds of things. Business and accounting, we offer AAT, Accounts and Financial Planning, level 2 for people with limited experience, level 3, as they're growing experience, they'll become professionally qualified, level 4, people looking to take another step again. But CIPD, Human Resources and Management, we're the only provider in North Kent of that. Quite often businesses come to us with people they want to put through that program. ILM coaching and mentoring and middle management from next year. And we also work with our apprenticeship team to offer apprenticeships in accounting and apprenticeships in human resources as well. So we've got our foundation skills. So this is our level 1, level 2 skills. To come on to one of the access programs, you need GCSE English and Maths. But if you don't have that, then we have a different starting point for you. And that would be either level 1 or GCSE English and Maths, depending on your existing level. That's because 15% of adults in Medway have no qualifications above a level 1 and 8% have no qualifications at all. So we need to offer a starting point to those people. For the first time this year, we've got people who've done level 1, level 2 and level 3 with us and are going to university next year. So if that's you, then don't worry. We have a starting place for you that's appropriate. English and math skills are vital. All employers look for them. All employers want them. And we call them gateway qualifications to going on to other things. So we offer that starting point for people if they're not quite ready for access. We'll also be offering digital skills from 2020 as a foundation level and a level 2 certificate in healthcare. In terms of education and social sciences, we have 50 places on our DET program, Diploma in Education and Training, for people who want to work in FE as teachers or want to become independent trainers in different areas. That's a 2-year program. We train 20 teaching assistants per year for the classroom, level 2, level 3 supporting teaching and learning in schools. That's over at Maidstone. That's for people who want to become teaching assistants in the classroom, prepares you to do that. And we also have an access to social science and humanities pathway. We have 20 students progressing to social work, law, criminology, psychology, history, and other things through that access pathway. Okay, so our purpose really for the Department of Adult Curriculum, we need to develop the skills and knowledge for adults and employers in Medway and Maidstone, and we're here to serve you, our local community, and the local economy in doing so. Okay, that's it. Any questions?
We have got some questions that have come up in the chat, so I'll put those to you. But obviously, if you've got more questions coming through, then please do keep them coming, and I'll go to Richard for you. So the first one, Richard, is obviously we're in a position at the moment where we're not able to do face-to-face teaching, learning, and assessment on site. And we've got a question that, due to the current situation, is there any assurance that sessions will be able to go ahead this September?
That's a good question, and we will be offering our courses in September. They may be what's called blended learning, though. So we've had quite a lot of strict regulations imposed on us by the government in terms of how many people we can fit in a building and fit in a classroom. And so that means that we can only get limited numbers of people in a classroom at any one time. So that means from September, we will be offering a mixture really of kind of online learning and classroom-based learning. So a lot more of what we used to do will be happening using online platforms like Zoom, possibly, and things like that. So it will be, you will spend less time, you'll spend the same amount of time as you would have done anyway with a tutor. It won't be 16 hours, it's actually more like 12. And but that time will not necessarily be in college. It might well be in kind of online classrooms.
Okay, thanks for that, Richard. Just to add to what Richard has said, obviously we've got, I think you said we have about 400 students on these particular programs, Richard. To put that into context for everybody else, we've got about 8,000 students who work with us overall. So you can imagine that actually trying to manage social distancing regulations with that many people coming onto our campus is a particular challenge. And I think while we would love to see everybody back with our staff and students physically working together on campus, our absolute priority is keeping everybody safe, and that means that until the government advice changes, we'll take any appropriate steps to monitor and control the number of people that we've got on our entire campus, but also the number that we've got in any individual classroom. So I think what Richard said is absolutely right. We'll be looking at blended learning for a lot of our programs actually from September, not just the programs for our adults, where actually, you'll have that mix really of traditional face-to-face teaching on campus with a tutor, combined with the virtual interaction with tutors and support staff and other students in your group online as well. So yeah, I think absolutely is a really good question. I can completely understand why you've asked it. We've been asked it in pretty much every webinar we've done today. So I hope that helped to answer it. Richard, you touched on hours a little bit in your last answer, but I'm just going to push you on that a little bit further. We've got a question from somebody who's interested in starting an access course in healthcare and then wants to go on to study midwifery. Now on the website it says approximately 16 hours a week at college. Now I think you've mentioned that that's actually looking more like 12, but I'll let you expand on that. But the question really is that program of study something that someone could do alongside working on a part-time basis as well?
Yeah, it's a great question, because it suggests that somebody's thinking about, the kind of the pressures that come with doing something like this quite realistically. And the short answer is yes, you can work part-time. as well alongside an access program, but you can't work full time is what we tend to find. So we always say it's 12 hours a week with your tutors. You can double it for another 12 hours a week for working outside the classroom. So doing your assignments, doing your research, and all of that kind of stuff. So you really need to be able to commit 20 to 24 hours a week of your time to doing an access program. It's very, very intensive. That does leave some time to do a part-time job alongside. People who try and work full-time and do an access program, they end up sort of falling behind and it becomes quite difficult for them. But a lot of people run a kind of part-time job alongside. Last year, that particular pathway was timetabled on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays, or Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays, normally for 3 or 4 hours each of those days. We timetable those access pathways around school times because we appreciate that some students have responsibilities in that area. So we will take that into account, but you're looking at kind of 3 days a week, and then you're looking at kind of 20 to 24 hours a week of your time.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you, Richard. I've got a couple of questions for you, if that's okay, and it just gives everyone else watching a little bit more time to think or get their questions into the chat. You mentioned that we might have people, particularly who are coming towards some of those access programs, without necessarily having a wealth of qualifications behind them already. So, if I was someone who was perhaps in that position and was a bit nervous about coming back into education, particularly if I've had a little bit of a gap away from it, what kind of advice would you give me, or what support is available to help someone in that situation?
Well, first of all, to say you won't be alone in that situation. So there'll be lots and lots of other people who be, similarly in that situation coming in. The English and maths qualifications that we do, we just have adults in the classroom. So, we kind of tailor them towards 19 pluses. So you'd be in with kind of people who were, in the same point of life as you, and so on and so forth. We offer additional learning support to those who need it, that we identify as needing it. So that would be kind of extra time doing English and maths, outside of the classroom. We have learning resource centres that we make good use of that have got extra resources. We've got extra kind of online learning resources as well for people to learn independently. On the access program, we have a sort of pastoral program that runs through, because we appreciate that a lot of people might be quite kind of nervous about coming back into education, but we understand that we've been dealing with it successfully for a long time. We know a lot about it, and that should never be a barrier for somebody.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And my next question is, you mentioned, I think you called it the 3+1 partnership with Canterbury Christchurch earlier on. So I'm just really interested in whether there's anything else that people might like to know about the way that we partner with universities, particularly in regard to how people move on after access programs.
Yeah, so we have a very close relationship with Canterbury Christchurch. We sent 48 students this year to them. We took them to the Medway campus in November to have a look around and have some practice interviews and things like that. So we have what's called a progression agreement with them, and so anyone who applies to them will be offered an interview at least. And so we have quite a close relationship with them, but we also have students who apply to Greenwich, who go on to all sorts of universities around the country, as well, Leeds, Cambridge, those kinds of things. So we throw it pretty wide, but we have a well-established progression route to Canterbury Christchurch, which is particularly useful for people who want to work in healthcare, because their campus is 10 minutes away from ours and is superbly well equipped. So yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. A couple of other questions that have come in on the chat. So we've got a question about timetables. So you
Yeah.
mentioned particular days of the week that courses have been scheduled over this last year. In terms of next year's timetable, granted, we may see some flexibility in when people are coming in based on coronavirus and what we said earlier on. Do we know roughly when we would expect to be able to confirm something along the lines of timetables for people?
We have just gone through timetabling. They're still provisional at the moment, and we're intending at the moment for that program to be exactly the same as last year. So there'll be Group A on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Sorry, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Group B on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. So at the moment the plan is for no change, and I'd be surprised if it did change.
Okay, thank you. It's more a comment than a question, but I've left education a long time ago, and sorry, my screen just scrolled as I was halfway through reading it, and I'm nervous about coming back to college, especially because it's a total career change to what I'm normally doing at the moment. I'm interested in studying midwifery, and I'm hoping this access course will be something that will get me started. So I think, hopefully what we said earlier on about the support that will be put in place for you, and the fact that you won't be alone in that situation, and particularly in either returning to education after a break or coming to education because you're making a change of career. Hopefully that will have given you some reassurance about that. But if you do need to speak to someone, I'm going to share some contact details at the end of the chat where perhaps you can have a conversation with people as well. So I've got another one for you, Richard, which is what are the differences between the social sciences pre-access course and the certificate of further study in social sciences?
Principally the entry requirements. So the entry requirements for the pre-access course are that you have level 1 English and maths, and the entry requirements for the access course are that you have level 2 English and maths, or GCSE English and maths. So so the levels is similar material, so social sciences, healthcare, psychology, but the access is at the next level to the certificate. So it's really about your entry point in terms of your prior qualifications.
Okay, so I'm going to come to another question about entry requirements before I come back to another one that's been asked already. So I've got a question which is, what's the minimum required qualifications for entry onto the business and IT program, please?
Depends which business and IT program. The new level 3 access business program that we are trying to set up, which would probably start in more like October, by the way. The entry requirements for that will be the same as every level 3 access program, and that will be that you have English and Maths GCSE grade C or above. If you're talking about AAT, then the accountancy programs, then that's really done by that team based on the outcome of what's called a BKSB test, which is testing your kind of English and Maths ability when you come in, particularly your Maths. So they'll look more at that. If you're coming in with kind of limited qualifications, they'll probably start you on level 2 AAT. But if you're coming in and you've got GCSEs under your belt, they'll probably start you on level 3.
Okay, great. Thank you, Richard. So I don't know if you'll necessarily know the answer to this one off the top of your head, Richard. It might be one that we need our admissions team to pick up. But we've got a question which is, I've successfully completed my A-level in Germany, but the college is still finding out whether we can accept that because it's an overseas qualification. Is there anything that they can do to help support that process? Is that something that we need admissions to pick up, Richard, or do you know about that?
I would still go to admissions. I know a little bit about that. The one thing that you can do is put your qualifications through what's called the NARIC process, which is NARIC, if you do a Google search. And they are basically a service that checks the equivalence of qualifications from around the world against UK qualifications. So it costs a small amount for the student, but it's probably worth doing anyway if you've got overseas qualifications, because you will be asked over and over again, for that equivalence. And NARIC is the go-to, well-trusted equivalence checker, and
So
anybody can do it for themselves at any point.
So people can do it for themselves, but is that something we do on their behalf when they've applied with an overseas qualification?
That would be a question for admissions.
Okay, so
Sometimes I feel like we do, and then other times we say the student should go away and do it. So,
okay,
I take it to admissions.
yeah, okay. So, I think Sue's helpfully shared contact details to go into admissions directly and ask that question. It might be that if it is something that we're doing, that might account for that slight delay that you've mentioned as well. So, yeah, hopefully we can get that sorted for you. Are we planning any induction programs before starting?
Yes.
Good answer.
Absolutely. Again, that will be slightly problematic because there may well be social distancing still imposed upon us, which means, can we do our usual induction program of bringing 400 students into college in order to come into classrooms and meet each other and and all those other things? Very probably not. We probably won't be able to do it that way. It might well be, again, a mixture of small groups in college and then online induction. So we've yet to really kind of fully bottom out, what exactly that's going to look like. But there will be induction, absolutely, in order to orientate you around, the college and your experience at the college.
Excellent. And I think we've had another question about overseas qualifications. So I think our advice would be the same as the previous question, in that we probably need to link you up with our admissions team just to work through that process with you. I hope that's okay. Brilliant. Thank you. What I'll do, I've got just a couple more minutes worth of bits that I'd like to tell you about the college generally, but we'll keep Richard on the line. So if you do have other questions that come through, I will pick those up with Richard as well. Sorry, we've just had one come through, Richard, so I'll just put that to you first before I carry on. I would like to start Access in September. How do I go about it in terms of meeting the requirements?
So the entry requirements for Access are having English and Maths GCSE grade C or above, or level 2 functional skills. Apart from for Access to Humanities and Social Sciences, when we do need the GCSEs. So you need to make sure that you have those things in place and you have evidence of them. You also need to be ready for an interview, which will be designed around checking that you're aware of the pressures of the course, how hard work it is, that you're aware, you're clear about why you want to do it, and you're clear about your progression intentions for the future. What you want to go on to do. So that's how to get yourself ready, really, for Access. To come onto Access.
Okay, that's brilliant. And we've got a question about when to apply, and I'll come on to that quickly now. I'm just going to scoot through some of the things that I was going to talk about, purely because Richard's covered them already, and it's more important that we give you a chance to talk to Richard than it is for you to hear from me. So in terms of is it too late to apply for Access to Science September? I think, Richard, unless you tell me otherwise, my answer is no, it's not too late. But I think what we would advise is, if you know that it's a course of study that you want to take, don't delay getting your application in, because obviously we do run with group sizes, and the earlier you apply, the better. We've been accepting applications on programs for this September since last November. So the sooner you apply, the sooner we can get you a telephone interview with your tutors, and the sooner we can be in a position to tell you that you've got a place for September. Obviously, if you do apply later, and it's not unusual that we might still be taking applications into the first couple of weeks of September. So although that's not unusual, at that point you're probably reliant on there being a space still available for you, and it might be that applying that late, we might need to put you on a waiting list and offer you a place as and when a space becomes available. So if you've made the decision, I think I would send the application in as soon as possible. Okay, just making sure that I haven't missed any other questions in the chat for you, Richard. No, I think we've covered all the questions that have come in. So I just wanted to round off this afternoon, because we advertise these as half-an-hour sessions, and I don't want to keep you, because I'm sure you're very busy. Just in terms of where you can go next if you need some help. So we've got a brilliant course enquiries team, who incidentally are the people that are sitting in the background answering your questions in the chat. So very knowledgeable about our programs and about the college generally. So if you've got a question that you want to ask them, you can give them a call on 01634 40 20 20. You can go to our website, midkent.ac.uk, and use the live chat functionality on our website to speak to that team as well. Or you can drop an email to course.enquiries@midkent.ac.uk. Now, if for whatever reason they can't answer your question directly, it may be that they'll come to Richard or a member of Richard's team and put you in contact there, so we can make sure we get the answers to your questions to you. Just had one question come in, Richard, which we'll tackle before we close off. Will there be an interview in order to be accepted to level 6 manufacturing engineering at Mid-Kent College and Christchurch University?
That would probably be a question for Dan Cotton, about kind of HE entry, which would be, I think he's doing a webinar later on this week, isn't he?
That's right. So
yeah, I would go to admissions and put him in contact with Dan Cotton.
Okay, so what we can do is we will take that query and we'll pass it on to the team to ask them to answer it for you. But Dan, who is our head of higher education, is actually doing one of these webinars with me next Monday. And we're doing that slightly later in the day. I've got a feeling it's about 5 or 5:30 in the evening. So if you go to the page where you registered for this webinar, you'll be able to find that session next Monday and book onto that, and we'll be able to pick up anything specifically about higher education, so levels 4, 5, 6 and above in that webinar there. Is there any requirement for a pre-access course, Richard? We'll make this our last question if that's okay. So any requirement for a pre-access course?
No, not if you're meeting the entry requirements in terms of GCSEs in English and maths.
Okay, brilliant.
And as long as you're clear about why you're doing access and ready for the interview process.
Brilliant. So I think what we can do as well is if someone's not really sure whether they meet the entry criteria or not, I think it's probably worth putting in an application because, you know, it's part of our responsibility as a college to make sure that you're on the right course and that you're studying at the right level. So if you're not sure, put in an application anyway, because, you know, we'll learn a lot about what your aspirations are from that application, and we can work with you to make sure that you're coming in at the right level.
Exactly.
Okay. So the last thing I want to do is just point you towards our website. So at the bottom of the screen, there should be a button which just says our website. So if you wanted to find out more about our programs, more about how our access and professional programs work, if you've got questions about how funding works for these programs as well, then if you click through to our website and all of the information is there for you. And obviously, if you do need any further information, then please contact us through whatever channel you find, basically, and we will link you up with the right people to help get the information you need. So Richard, I just want to say thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Thank you to everyone who's watched. You will get a copy of this webinar as well. So if we've rushed past something or there's something that you want to go back and check, you'll be emailed a link to a recording of our conversation this afternoon. So you can go back and check anything. But also, if you've got friends or family members who might be interested in these programs as well, it's something that you can share with them for them to find out more too. So I hope it's been really useful for you. Thank you for your time this afternoon. And, you know, if nothing else, we really look forward to seeing you in September. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.